Welcome, folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome as you're coming on into the room. Welcome, welcome. And as usual, in addition to you humans who are entering the room, we have a more than human guest, or actually quite a few more than human guests. I'm wondering if you will be able to guess this one this month. It's a pretty easy tee up. Welcome, cats. Wait, no, I'm sorry. Welcome, dogs. It's so nice to see all of you. We welcome the dogs in today because there's good news. There's good news for dogs, I think, that I have heard recently. One of the good news I heard coming out of South Korea this month for some dogs, that there's a bill which will ban the production and sale of dog meat, which is great news for dogs in South Korea. And I heard some good news for dogs here in the US as well. Today is the official holiday, January 21st, of Squirrel Appreciation Day. And I know some of those dogs you live with like squirrels. Did you know that squirrels can live up to 24 years of age? That is if we keep our canine and our feline friends from appreciating them too much, and we humans all pledge to drive a little more carefully. So welcome dogs, welcome squirrels, welcome humans. Welcome to the Compassion Consortium Sunday service. I'm Reverend Sarah Bowen, and I'm joined today by co-founders Victoria Moran and Reverend William Melton, as well as Phil and Elaine. To ensure that we don't have unwanted disruptive guests, we've turned off the Zoom sharing function. So if you go looking for those, you'll see you will not be able to use them during the service. We meet for Sunday service on the third Sunday of every month. If you're new to us, welcome. We're an interfaith, interspiritual, and interspecies community. Let me unpack that for you. Interfaith means we welcome people of any religion or spiritual path or life philosophy or system of meaning making, and we feature a diverse range in our programming. Interspiritual means that we believe underneath all of those philosophies, we can find commonalities, particularly the shared values of peace, compassionate service, and love for the Earth community. And finally, we are interspecies, which means when we say Earth community, we really mean it. We mean everyone, including dogs and cats and squirrels and cows and humans. And I could go on and we could spend the whole hour with me naming all the people that we mean, all the persons, when we say Earth community. And we also celebrate humans doing remarkably compassionate things in the world. So today we'll be talking with Sailesh Rao of Climate Healers, and our own Phil will be coming off his spaceship bridge to talk with Elaine during the Compassion in Action segment. At the beginning of each service, we draw our awareness to beings who are present in a specific habitat, or sometimes to a holiday or a holy day from one of the spiritual or religious traditions that is represented within our community here, our diverse community. Today, we're lifting up spiritual veganism. And so I'd like to say, welcome to Veganuary. And with that, I'd like to invite our special events coordinator, Jen Baker, up for just a minute to offer a quick announcement. Jen, come on up.
Hey, welcome everyone. We are having an exciting film and talk event this coming Wednesday, January 24th, watching the 20-minute Veganuary story, celebrating their 10th year. Afterward, Victoria Moran will interview Wendy Matthews, the International Head of Partnerships and Expansion at Veganuary. The film is a fun look at how the founders started Veganuary with a monthly January challenge, encouraging people to give up or reduce their consumption of animal products and why. It has now turned into a New Year's resolution for many people, impacting millions in every country in the world. When someone signs up, they receive a welcome kit that includes a celebrity cookbook, meal plan, starter kit, making it super easy to get going on it. Each day in January, a fun email arrives that includes a food item with vegan-friendly information, how to support it sustainably, as well as amazing recipes to try. The growth and impact they've had influence people to start to really look at and understand the protection of our environment, prevent animal suffering, and improve one's health dramatically. Thanks to them and groups like the Compassion Consortium, along with many others, being vegan is closer to becoming the norm. So please join us on Wednesday.
You had me at delicious recipes. Folks, if you didn't start on January 1st, there's still 9 more days this month. So Jen, if you can pop that link into the chat for us, that would be fabulous. And I hope that some of you, if you haven't already registered, will join us on Wednesday for this awesome event. And, it was really interesting. I was looking up a little bit about Veganuary as well as I was writing my sermon-ish here. They broke their previous records again this year. Over 700,000 people officially signed up to try being vegan for the month. People from, as Jen said, nearly every country in the world, all 50 states. And that could be very good news for some animals and good news for humans too. Veganuary may lead to lasting change for animals who currently lose their lives to be on dinner plates. One of our advisory board members reflected recently to our leadership team, I need to hear more good news. Could we share more good news as a community? So as the new year ran around, I've been reflecting on this. I grew up in a Christian church as a child with a preacher father, and good news meant something very specific. And I've been wondering, what does good news mean in this diverse interfaith community? I've realized there's always good news happening for animals, but sometimes it can be hard to see, or I can be prone to push it aside or minimize it or negate it because I think not enough is happening, or what's happening is happening in ways that aren't exactly perfect, and I'm not happy with that, and I can negate some of the things that are actually happening. I also read some compelling scientific literature that good news and hope are critical for sustaining activism. They help us not fall into compassion fatigue or burnout or other unhelpful states. So while good news doesn't take away all the bad stuff, it can give us a sense of accomplishment towards goals, and more importantly, hope for the future. And that balance is crucial. In her book, Reason for Hope, A Spiritual Journey, Jane Goodall observes, it is the undeniable qualities of human love and compassion and self-sacrifice that give me hope for the future. We are indeed often cruel and evil. Nobody can deny this. We gang up on one another. We torture each other with words as well as deeds. We fight, we kill, but we are also capable of the most noble, generous, and heroic behavior. I think it's that kind of behavior that we're all trying to cultivate here. And this year, I want to urge us to keep our eyes out for the good news so that we don't end up feeling hopeless when we face failures or setbacks. For example, New York State, where I live, became the 10th state in the United States to end wildlife killing contests. I am so delighted about this. There are 40 states to go, that's true, but it's good news for the squirrels living here by the Bowens, for sure. And across the country in Southern California, the largest wildlife crossing in the US is under construction, bridging over the 101 freeway to reconnect fragmented habitat and decrease wildlife killed by car strikes. Road safety inspired me to try to get my local town to fix the issues on the road right outside my house. I will probably never get a multi-million-dollar bridge in the name of P22 for squirrels and deers and raccoons over here. But we have succeeded in getting the speed limit lowered, and I think that's good news too. And way up north of me in Canada, I just heard that the Rain Coast Conservation Foundation raised funds to buy outright the hunting rights for the Great Bear Rainforest. And now instead of allowing hunting, they're promoting ecotourism. Not entirely unproblematic for all the animals who are living in that habitat who may be overrun by tourists, but certainly good news for some animals. Indeed, there's always some good news for some animals happening if we spend a little time looking for it. So as you go forth into the rest of 2024, working on whatever critical issue you are each involved in, I'd like to offer us a collective intention. May we never stop seeing the imperfection and the complexity of the actions taken to improve life for the many animals who are suffering around us. And at the same time, may we celebrate each change that comes from the noble, generous, and heroic behavior of our fellow humans. Like William. William, you're up next.
Okay, I'm back. Great. Okay, so this is the time at our service when we read our Tenets of Agreement, which are extremely important. They're on our website, and we always read our Tenets of Agreement at the beginning of each service. And today we have a special treat. Corinne Matuba, who we know, Victoria and I have the pleasure of having lunch with her, and she is with us today. She was born in France, raised on a farm. She understood in early childhood that eating animals wasn't right for humans. She now works in the e-learning and development field. She speaks 5 languages and helps run the biggest vegan meetup group in Paris. And so now, Corinne, I'm turning it over to you.
So we've got 10 tenets of agreement. We acknowledge a divine force at the heart of the universe and in all living beings. We may refer to this force as God, but it is known by many names and appears in different forms or as formulas. We recognize the moral principles inherent within all wisdom traditions. We affirm that compassion, reverence for life, and non-violence are fundamental to religious faith and moral philosophy and are to be extended to all sentient beings. We stand by the principles of inclusion, diversity, and equality, and hold these as essential in our human relations. We hold that non-human animals are imbued with the same essence of life and love as are human animals, and that there is moral parity between us. We avow that humans do not own the earth, its resources, or its inhabitants, but instead must be involved in their protection and care. We endeavor to eat and live in a kind and sustainable manner, moving away from animal foods and animal-derived clothing, as well as any activities that cause harm to our fellow beings, human or otherwise. We aim to provide spiritual comfort, fellowship, and food for thought to those practicing or exploring a vegan lifestyle. We offer guidance and peer support for all those seeking a more compassionate and spiritual life. We commit to sharing these principles freely with humility and respect in support of non-human animals and the earth.
Thank you very much. And so now over to Sarah.
And Corinne, thank you as well. Another new person for me to meet, another new, noble, generous, and heroic human. It's nice to meet you. So last month for our spiritual practice, we went trekking through the snow. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little trekking through our minds. So we're just going to do a short guided meditation today on this topic of good news. So I'm going to invite you to get still wherever you are. And take a deep breath. And exhale. Now gently close your eyes if you're willing to, or just let them fuzz up around the corners. Don't want to be staring at something very specific. We just want to retreat to our inner state for a moment or two. For some of us, that can be very challenging, very difficult. We think that to meditate, we need to stop all of the thoughts in our head. But it's actually impossible to do that. We have 60 to 70,000 thoughts that go through our head every day, through our mind. Our goal here for the next few minutes is just to slow them down. Inhale again. And exhale. Press your feet again gently into the ground. Breathe in, breathe out. Now, if you can, bring to mind an animal. Notice who popped in when I said that. Was it the dog next to you? Or was it an unnamed animal somewhere far off who might live in a group? Notice who this animal is. And ask yourself this question. What might good news for them be? Notice your inner monologue if it starts. What might good news for this animal be? Now, there's a problem that comes up when we ask that question, isn't there? We can't have them answer to us in English for themselves in the way that we might like them to. We have to understand the specificity of this being. They might be typical or not typical for their species, that their context might be different. There's a whole host of information we might need to know what is good news for that animal. But we can make some guesses. Compassion might be good news for this animal. Freedom to move around. The ability to have choices in their daily life. The ability to be nourished by good food and thirst quenched with good water. The ability to have a social life, if they choose, with others who they choose. Might that be good news for that animal? See if you can picture that. Some of us humans can picture in our minds, others of us can't. We have a broad range of neurodiversity, just like animals do. Now sink into your heart. See if you can feel it beating. Notice the air in your lungs and the life force that runs through you. Try to send that out to whichever animal you would like to have good news. Now take another breath. Press your feet into the floor. One more breath. Push your feet into the floor. And gently breathe your eyes open. The reason that we do meditation around here and spiritual practices is to try to teach ourselves self-regulation. So that if we get in a place where we hear bad news or we see bad news or we're part of solving bad news, we are able to be resilient and strong and capable in those moments because we can regulate our internal state. I invite you for the next 9 days to try at some point during the day to just take a breath, press your feet in the floor, and imagine what good news for any animal near you might look like. Victoria, over to you. Tell us some good news. I think you've got Sailesh over there who might have some good news for us.
Oh, Sailesh is full of good news. So hello, everybody. This is the time in our service when our special spiritual guest engages in a chat with me for all of us. And today we're extremely blessed to have Sailesh Rao, PhD. He is a systems engineer, and he was busily at work on something you guys have heard of called the internet, when he learned about the animal agriculture climate connection, and the vast importance of that issue caused him to leave the work that he had been doing and devote himself 24/7 to solving the climate crisis by going after animal agriculture first, as well as an embracive plan to change our attitudes. I'd almost say to bring about a global spiritual awakening. And he does this through his wonderful organization, climatehealers.org. Welcome, Dr. Rao.
Thank you so much, Victoria.
Well, it's absolutely wonderful to have you here. And it's very special to me that I am talking with someone from India, someone who comes from what we call the Hindu tradition, the Vedic tradition, because I just finished my 14th book, and it is called Age Like a Yogi. So I have been immersed for the past several months in this beautiful tradition, which is your birthright, and it just seems really special that we're talking today. So start off, if you would, please, and just explain the problem to us. Why is the Earth, why is humanity in the state it's in? And from a systems engineer, from a Vedic scholar, what do we do?
Okay. We are in the state that we are in because for the last 10,000 years, we have been heating the climate. And we have actually done something amazing by heating the climate. We have prevented the Earth from going back to another ice age 5,000 years ago. And we kept the temperature constant, which allowed us to continue agriculture. And but in the process, over the last 200 years, after we discovered fossil fuels, we have raised the temperature by 1.2 degrees Celsius. But in the process, we have also created all the tools and technologies we need to understand what we have done, and therefore now become conscious climate regulators or climate harmonizers of the planet, so that the Earth can never go back to another ice age again. Yeah.
So I have seen, actually, other people have picked this up now too, but I saw it first from you, a chart about the weight of life on the planet, the biomass. And that was one of the most life-changing things I have ever witnessed. So can you explain a little bit about the obesity crisis, but in a way that you wouldn't think of it?
Yes. So we have taken away land from wild animals, converted that to cropland or grazing land or managed forests, mostly grazing land, because and then we have raised animals, domestic animals on that grazing land in far greater numbers than what would be found in nature. So the estimate is that we have reduced the biomass of wild animals, or the total weight of wild animals, from 10,000 years ago to today by almost 90%. Okay, we have reduced their weight by 90%, but in their stead, we have actually created domestic animals that weigh 12 times as much as all the wild animals that lived 10,000 years ago in terms of equivalent weight. I call it equivalent weight because these domestic animals that we raise, we kill them and they're still babies. So they haven't fully grown by the time we kill them, and which means for their weight, they're actually eating twice as much food as you would expect a normal mix of animals to eat. So they're presenting a profile that's 12 times the biomass or the weight of all the wild animals that lived 10,000 years ago. And our weight alone, humans alone, we are double the weight of all the wild animals that lived 10,000 years ago. So this is in our category, the megafauna category, which is animals greater than, I think, 20 kgs or so is the average weight. So we have basically taken over the Earth.
And how do we give it back?
Go vegan. It's so simple. It's what is fascinating to me is that this solution, going vegan and stop consuming animals for any purpose whatsoever, this solution actually addresses all 6 of the planetary boundary violations that we have seen on planet Earth. So it's as if there are 6 fires going on in your home, and there is one action you can do that will put out all 6 fires. Why wouldn't you do it? Of course you'll do it.
So why is it such a hard sell? I know that you have been to most of the COP summits. You have spoken with people who are very involved in this around the world. I believe you've had contact with former Vice President Al Gore. And all we hear is carbon, 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 drive something different. The food issue is getting out a little bit here and there at the edges, but most people, even most environmentalists, are still pretty clueless.
Yeah, it's a hard sell because of the way the mainstream media frames it. The mainstream media doesn't frame it as 6 fires and there's one action that you can do that would solve all 6 fires, because that would completely change the system. So they're looking for a solution within the system. It's a solution where they can make money of the action that you're taking, because we are all in that game. It's a money game that we are playing. And so the way the mainstream media frames it is that the only fire that's important is climate change. Ignore the other 5 fires, even though they're actually 3 of them are bigger than climate change. Okay?
What can you list them for us, Dr. Rao?
Yeah, the ones that are bigger than climate change are chemical pollution, because we are pouring 250 billion tons of chemicals into the environment every year, and it's contaminating our water. It's killing life because of that. Nitrogen and phosphorus loading. So we are extracting nitrogen and phosphorus wherever we could find them, from the atmosphere, from the ground, and we're using it as fertilizer on our land in order to grow more and more crops. In the process, all these excess nitrogen and phosphorus is flowing into the ocean and creating dead zones where it kills life. That's even worse than climate change. And the last is biodiversity loss, and basically habitat destruction, where we take away land from animals. So we have actually taken away 91% of the earth for ourselves. Only 9% is left for the wild animals. This is why they are down by 90% from what they used to be. And that's on land. And in the ocean, we are bottom trawling an area of the ocean floor the size of South America every year to grab the last remaining fish. So when you bottom trawl, you're killing everything, including the kelp forests, everything that's down there. You kill it just to get the fish. And by doing that, we are only getting 15% of the food we eat from fish and animal sources. So 85% of the food we eat is already plant-based. It's not such a big leap to go from 85% to 100%. But if you did that, you'll free up 40% of the land area of the planet. You can return it back to nature, and you can return the entire ocean back to nature. And when you do that, you solve all 6 of these fires, the fires on the planet. So, but the way the mainstream media frames it, it's only climate change that's important. And within climate change, they frame it as only fossil fuels that's important. So this way they can sell us electric cars and solar panels, and the economy grows. Whereas if the whole world goes vegan, the economy will shrink, and you have to change the entire game of money. You have to change the entire economy. I say we have to go from a consumer economy to a rewilding economy, where we are all focused on bringing back the forests, bringing back the wild animals. And I think we would be so much happier doing that than just consuming.
So when you say something like this to an Al Gore or someone in that position, what response do you get?
They don't want to hear me. They say, get away from here. Yeah. It's because, they're making money off of this, right? So they're saying, it's like they're all on the upper deck of the Titanic. And they know it's the Titanic, but they're hoping that it'll run aground, and the upper deck will still be alive. And I keep telling them there are plenty of vegan lifeboats on the Titanic. We can all get on it.
It's a lot. So you were at the recent COP summit. Did anything there surprise you?
Well, I didn't go to COP28. I went to COP26, the last one I went to. And I was shocked at, the fact that they were still eating animals, number one. And number two, they agreed to halt deforestation by 2030, which I believe is too late from a scientific perspective. And they say we are going to halt deforestation by 2030. I take that to mean we will continue deforesting until 2030. Yeah, and then we'll look at it then, right? And to me, it's like kicking the can down the road. And I said, you're not being serious. So I said, I'm not going to attend any more COPs until they become 100% vegan. Then I know that they are serious about solving the problem. Because it's staring us in the face, the solution. Yeah.
So let's move a little bit into some of the spiritual background for some of these things that you're talking about. You've written a couple of books, Carbon Yoga and Carbon Dharma. And for any of the yoga people, you know both of those terms. Yoga is union with all life, union with the divine. Dharma is our duty, the divine job we're to do on Earth this lifetime. So talk to us a little bit about Carbon Yoga and Carbon Dharma.
Carbon Dharma it's about what is the right thing to do. I was looking at it from a Hindu spiritual perspective also, and also from a scientific perspective. And what the right thing to do is to be compassionate to all life. And that solves all the problems. Okay, so compassion just quenches all these fires. And so it was sort of obvious to me, and I was wondering why people are not seeing it, so I wrote it down. I wrote it right after my granddaughter was born, because I wanted to make sure that even if I get hit by a bus, at least everything I know is on paper somewhere. And then I wrote Carbon Yoga in 2016, which is around the time the Pinky Promise happened with my granddaughter. And that's basically about how do we go about doing it. And it's really about, framing the story and helping people understand the story, because it's through stories and games that we coordinate our actions as people. This is how we form a civilization. So we need to change our stories and we need to play different games. Okay? And it's very simple, actually, when you think about it.
Well, speaking of stories, the religions and spiritual teachings of the world are largely a collection of incredible stories. And one of those is the beautiful Indian scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. And I know that you have recently offered seminars on the Bhagavad Gita. And for people who are not familiar with it, if you could just explain a little bit about what it is, and then also answer the question that I certainly had as a teenager when I was introduced to this scripture for the first time. In it, the divine figure Krishna is encouraging his cousin to do his duty, which is go into battle. And I was reading it during the Vietnam War era, and it's like, no, that can't be right. He must be saying, don't go into battle. But no, he was saying go into battle. So help us understand that.
Well, you have to understand the origin of the two sides who are fighting the battle. These were cousins. They basically were born to two brothers, right? And the first set of cousins were all born of immaculate conceptions. And they were born to a king, King Pandu, who meditated for the rest of his life in the forest after he accidentally shot a Brahmin and his wife in the act of copulation. So when the Brahmin was dying, he cursed King Pandu, saying that if you ever sleep with your wives, you're going to die. So he decided to not sleep with his wives anymore, and he went and meditated for the rest of his life. So his wives then had these boons from which they could get immaculate conceptions with the gods. So they got a child from Lord Dharma, that was Yudhishthira, a child from Lord Vayu, the wind god, and that was Bhima, a child from the thunder god, the god of thunder, Indra, and that was Arjuna. And then from the Gemini twins, they got Nakula and Sahadeva, the five main characters on one side of the battle. So Dharma represents justice. So Yudhishthira represents justice. Bhima represents strength. Arjuna represents courage. And Nakula and Sahadeva represent kindness and compassion. So those are the five brothers. So the idea there is that you have to know what is the right thing to do. That's justice. You need to then gather the resources to do the right thing, which is what Bhima brings. Then you have to have the courage to take the battle, to fight the battle of life. That's Arjuna. And then you have to execute with kindness and compassion. That's Nakula and Sahadeva. Okay. So in the Gita, Lord Krishna is talking to Arjuna, who represents courage. Because without courage, you will not fight the battle of life. Okay? And on the other side, King Pandu's brother was Dhritarashtra, who was a blind king. And his wife blindfolded herself. So King Pandu represents the disciplined mind, and his wives represent a discriminating intellect. And on the other side, you have a blind mind and a blindfolded intellect. And that resulted in 101 demons, who were the cousins of the Pandavas. They were called the Kauravas. So the Bhagavad Gita is really literally Lord Krishna asking us to fight the battle of life. Don't give in. Don't give in to temptations. Don't give in to these things and just say, let my cousins win, right? No, you have to have the courage to fight the battle of life so that you can implement Dharma. What is the right thing to do? Okay. So that's so appropriate for what we are doing now, right? And so there are prescriptions on how do you go about doing it. What do you do in any circumstance? How to treat everyone as God. Everyone is doing their best, right? That's the assumption we make when we deal with people. And then you help them. You give them the tools they need so that they can take action on their own. Because at the end of the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, where he instructs Arjuna why he should fight the battle, So this battle could be a battle within ourselves. It could be a battle in society. When we go vegan, we're actually fighting a battle with our cousins and our family members because they don't want to go vegan, right? So you see this happening all the time in at different levels, right? And with this, he tells Arjuna how to do it. And at the end, he says, I love you so much that I've set you free even from me, and you're free to choose whether you want to fight or not. Okay? But he said the outcome is the same, regardless of what you decide. The only thing you're deciding is how much suffering you have. If you don't fight, you're going to suffer more, and then you'll eventually come around.
Your granddaughter is really lucky to have such a storyteller right there in the family. I mean, I could sit and listen to you for a really long time. So there is another concept that comes from the same tradition, and that is ahimsa. And we hear it bantered about in the vegan and vegetarian world. Can you just talk a little bit about the concept of ahimsa and what we should be doing with it?
Ahimsa it's a Sanskrit word. In Sanskrit, it's the word himsa with an A next to it. So which means the exact opposite of himsa. Himsa is deliberate cruelty. I mean, it's like, you're deliberately hurting someone. Ahimsa is the exact opposite. It's deliberate kindness. It's just implemented kindness, right? And compassion. So it's translated loosely as non-harming. And people who practice ahimsa, you practice ahimsa at the level of sentient beings, or at the level of plants and animals. I mean, plants and insects as well. So there are some people who don't kill plants. So they don't eat root vegetables because they don't want to kill the plants. They rather just prune the plant and eat whatever needs to be eaten, or the fruits or the vegetables that the plant gives you. It's what level you want to take it to it's a journey that you're on. So you start on the path of ahimsa, you'll keep going down to minimalism pretty much at the end. Okay? And you'll get happier and happier. And that's what I found. As you do this, you get happier and happier. So it is a joyful journey that you're on.
And one of the things that you do that I didn't mention in your introduction is that you've been involved in several films. I think we actually met on the production team of A Prayer for Compassion. You're also part of a film called The Land of Ahimsa about India. And it is the land of ahimsa, and it's not yet the land of veganism, because there is this cow in the room. So talk to us a little bit about dairy in the Hindu tradition and in Indian culture, and what you're doing and what other people are doing to try to get that to shift.
Yeah, good question. In the Hindu tradition especially, we have a lot of stories that are symbolic and allegorical, like the story of the Mahabharata, which you thought was a real battle, and you were saying, why is Lord Krishna asking you to fight the battle, right? So it was so confusing in that sense. In the same way, Lord Krishna was brought up by a cowherd. And so he was used to raise cows as a child. And then he used to steal butter. And that story has been used to market dairy, okay, in the modern context. But it's a very symbolic story, just like this. As I told you, the Bhagavad Gita, the symbolism of the 5 brothers and the symbolism of the Kauravas. In the symbolism, milk represents a fluid mind that has doubts about God, to which you add the thought of God and you let it curdle. When you churn it, it becomes butter. So that is the solid mind that has no more doubts about God. It's the mind of a devotee. This is why Krishna loves butter, because he's always said he loves devotees. A devotee calls me, I come. I will drop everything and come, he said. Okay, so he loves the mind of a devotee. This is why he loves butter. When you take that butter and you refine it, you get ghee. which is the refined, solid mind that has no more doubts about God, which is the enlightened mind. This is why we use ghee in our arati, for in our offering to God. So this symbolism has been taken literally and used to market products, which I feel like is a desecration of our stories. And I've written to the head of Amul, and I've asked him to please cease and desist, because you are taking our sacred stories and trying to market your products with it, which is actually unhealthy products. 60 to 80% of Indians cannot even digest lactose. And they're being sold dairy and they're getting sick. So it's really a travesty what's going on there.
And so how do you communicate this to both Indians and to Americans who have taken up yoga and feel that they too are entitled to all the milk and cheese and butter that they can consume?
Yeah, we have to explain the stories to them. It's really education, right? So I'm trying to train a lot of people now. So I have a class that I'm doing, 8-week class, where I'm training people to tell the climate healer story, so we can go and spread the word. It's like gospel. We need a lot of people going around spreading the good news that we are going to transform. We are going to make this jump.
So I need to ask you something of a devil's advocate question.
Okay.
You made the pinky promise to your granddaughter that you are going to do everything you can to bring about a vegan world by 2026. And
Right.
when I met you in 2015 or so, that seemed far enough away that it seemed reasonable. Well, it's 2024. Have you amended that at all? Where are we with Vegan World 2026?
Well, 2026 was a date I picked based on necessity, scientific necessity, and ecological necessity. You cannot kill all the wild animals and expect to recover. Okay, almost all the wild animals and expect to recover. So it's already screaming at us to stop. Okay? So I liken this as a fire, right? So there are 6 fires happening on the planet. And they have been listed by the Stockholm Resilience Institute. It's water use, we're using too much water, we're using too much land use change, climate change, nitrogen and phosphorus loading, chemical pollution, and biodiversity loss. These are the 6 fires that are happening on the planet. And I use the analogy of the fire that happened in my home in 1993. It happened because of a car that caught fire the next morning. When my son came and told me there's smoke coming out of the vents, there's something wrong. At first I told him, it was a new house. It must be the heater that came on, so don't worry about it. I told him to go back. He came out again and said, Dad, this is serious. There's big smoke coming out of it. And I went and looked, there was black smoke billowing out of the vents, right, into the room above the garage. So I ran down to the garage to see what was going on, and the car was on fire. And it was spitting flames at me when I opened the door. So I knew immediately I had to take action. And the only thing I could think of was get my kids out of there as quickly as possible. So life was the most important thing I needed to save. I didn't go around looking for my passport or my wallet or my, jewelry, my wife's jewelry, any of that. None of that mattered to me. It was the life that mattered, right? In the same way, people now are not yet aware of the fires that are happening on the planet. But it's getting more and more intense. And we are being told, there are fires going on. You need to do something drastic. And you need to take care of life first and foremost. Because that's the most precious thing on this planet. And I think we will wake up. We will wake up before it's too late. Okay? And this is why I have total faith in humanity, that we will wake up and do this. In all of us, in all of you.
Well, that's good news. And may we all be positive enough to share it, So thank you so much, Dr. Sailesh Rao, climatehealers.org. Follow this man. You will be so glad you did. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria.
And so now it's time for my favorite section, because I used to be a musician years ago. But anyway, this is time for our Song of Compassion. And we have a special treat today because ordinarily we do something on a recording, but today we are going to be introducing our actual performer who wrote and will show us a video of her video. And so I'm introducing right now Amanda Udis-Kessler and our Song of Compassion. So I'm turning it over to Amanda, and then she will introduce her song.
So it's an honor to be with you all today. This is an amazing group. It's very moving to see you in action. I'm a hymn writer, sacred music composer, a writer, a sociologist, and an anti-racism trainer in Colorado Springs in the U.S. I have a free use, no licensing worship music website that is probably of most interest to progressive Christians and Unitarian Universalists, but there's some other material on it as well. I see that my music website and my writing website have been posted in the chat, so I won't try to pronounce them now. I have 2 books coming out this year. One of them is called Abundant Lives, A Progressive Christian Ethic of Flourishing. That'll be out in May from Pilgrim Press. And another book, a very different book, Cultural Processes of Inequality, A Sociological Perspective, from Anthem Press in July. And I will mention my email address if people are looking for new pieces of music or writing. I'm happy to be in touch with people. My email address is amanda@amandaudis-kessler.com. And so now I want to say just a little bit about this particular worship song before we enjoy it together. It is called The Creatures We Love, and I wrote it because I'm really interested in writing material for holidays and holy days and special worship services that I think don't have enough music specific to them. And in both Unitarian Universalist and Christian traditions, there is often a blessing of the animals, a service sometime in October. Sometimes that's tied to the life of St. Francis of Assisi. And so I wanted to write a singable kind of pop music style hymn, cherishing animals. I am an animal lover myself, and I'm so delighted by and grateful for the dog and cats that our household has. I thought of one of them before during the meditation. So that's why I wrote this piece. This particular recording was made by a music ministry in Arizona called Wild Play, Donna Wild and Richard Palale. And the video is by another musician who's also a wonderful videographer named Ken Jansen. So please let us now enjoy The Creatures We Love.
They bark and meow, they run and they sleep, they scamper and jump and they lie on the couch, they nicker and neigh, they slither and creep, they pounce and they scurry, they crawl and they crouch. The creatures we love are a sacred delight, with eyes that are bright and with tongues that are rough. They brighten our days and they wake us at night. Our praises we sing for the creatures we love. With fins and with fangs, with feathers and fur, they rest and they swim and they amble along. Each squeak and each squawk, each judder and purr joins in with creation a glorious song. The creatures we love bring us wonder and joy. They help us get through when the going is tough. They open our hearts even when they annoy. Our praises we sing for the creatures we love. They leap from the chair, they prowl in the woods, they knead and they cuddle, they snuggle and sigh. The essence of proof, creation is good, a blessing we cherish for all of our lives. The creatures we love are an instant of grace. The tiny, the giant, each one is enough. A part of the ultimate holy embrace. Our praises we sing for the creatures we love. Our praises we sing for the creatures we love.
Wow, thank you. How wonderful was that? And thank you so much. And so now it is time for us to move over to our Compassion in Action section, which you're also going to find very interesting and special for you. And so, Elaine, over to you.
Thank you so much, Reverend William and Amanda. Such beautiful music. It's so delightful. Today on Compassion in Action, we're welcoming one of our own, Phil Dejean, who is our Zoom tech for both the Compassion Consortium and Main Street Vegan. He's the man behind the screen, but this guy is good. He's a brilliant moderator and tech guru for us, and we are so thankful we have him. In addition to that, he's a vegan activist. He's a co-founder of a group called Plant-Powered Disruptors, which is a NYC based group that challenges the status quo to create a more compassionate world through creative social events and arts-imbued activism. Phil is also an artist himself. He's a high school teacher, and he has been hosting the Checkerboard Kids TV show in Manhattan neighborhood on the Manhattan Neighborhood Network since 1992. He's been a vegan for 11 years, and he maintains a 100-pound weight loss. Welcome, Phil. We're so glad to have you.
Wow. Yeah, thank you for that intro. It's amazing.
Well, you're amazing. I personally think you're amazing. And I know all of us here at the Compassion Consortium feel the same. Can you tell us a little bit about your vegan journey, how you became one, what drove you to change the way you eat?
Well, I'm a person that really loves music. So back in the days, I used to love myself a lot of new wave music. And I remember listening to the Smiths, and the particular song Meat is Murder definitely stood in my mind, the words that Morrissey so craftily wrote about animals and how they suffer. It made me think a lot about that. But of course, you know, as a kid living at home and I couldn't do what I want, I would go back and forth on that stuff. But I tell you, eventually I got to a point where I picked up a nice little book called Main Street Vegan. And with the combination of that book, which kind of like gave it to me, no nonsense, not being preachy or anything like that, and also interacting with a couple of other friends that were vegan and showed me how they were eating. And I got to eat at different places and learned more about that. I was able to understand that I could do this and I could make this a lifestyle. So good stuff. I love it.
I know many of us are curious. 100-pound weight loss that you're maintaining after how many years?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. It's for a hot minute. I've not gone over the 100 mark, but yeah.
How do you do that?
Oh, let's see. Okay, you know what? I'll say this. It's a lot more nuanced than that, but I'll give respect to good nutritionists, and also I'll recommend that if you're a person that is open to recovery programs that have sponsorship and a strong fellowship with ways of being accountable, whether you're secular or you believe in a higher power, that there is a solution if you work it. I'll leave it at that. Enough said.
Okay. But thanks for that, because that's quite an accomplishment. So let's talk about plant-powered disruptors. I'm very curious about this group. What inspired you to create it? And what are your plans for its future? What do you guys
Oh,
do?
Oh, okay. All right. So what happens is I'm also involved with I'm also involved with the New York City Vegan Meetup group. But then from there, there were other things I wanted to do. Like I'm part of the vegan sci-fi superhero and fantasy group, and that was doing well and good. But then there were other aspects I wanted to do. And me and a friend of mine, she goes under the name Dashita Disruptor, and I'm Philly Disruptor. And we wanted to do a thing where, we would be in a position where we kind of show the more fun aspects of being vegan. Like usually a lot of people are like, oh, being vegan's this, and we're suffering in this belabored, tortured lifestyle trying to strive to get protein. But, no, there's other things that we do. We have fun. We go to good restaurants. We do these things. We're getting involved with all these people. And you know what? It's some fun stuff. So we have a television show, which you can see on YouTube, and also on Manhattan Neighborhood Network also. We do events. Listen, we have a YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Follow and subscribe, just throwing it out there. But, we do all these different things. I'll give you some examples. We've done art events where we drew animals and cartoons about, animal stuff. Also to encourage people not to eat animals. The main thing is to show people that it's okay. It's fun to do this stuff. Because so many people think that vegans are a certain thing, and it's not so much. We've done benefits for animal sanctuaries and people that are impacted by disasters. We also have spotlit a lot of vegan eateries who really deserve the attention, for real. We did a singles meetup for vegans and those that are vegan curious, you know what I'm saying here? We did one that's just strictly about the love of the Beatles. For real, we were able to go there and have vegan musicians that love the Beatles come and do some music, and we had some talks about that. That was some good stuff there. In fact, at the end of this month, ending Veganuary, we're going to be doing a variety show called Vegans Got Talent, where we have comedians, singers, poets, and I'm even going to do a little something that's going to go crazy. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm just throwing it out there.
When is that?
That's going to be on January 31st. At the end of Veganuary, we will be doing this kind of fun little thing. We're doing it at Organic Grill. If you're in the New York City area, take a look at that. I see you on the Facebook over there. You got there's a whole bunch of different ways to find out where we're doing, because we're always doing new events. We just want to bring the community together and let everybody know that, we could disrupt with love. We could, there's we want to be in a situation where we don't have to do the torture porn thing. We could be there and just chill and show through our actions, through the things that we do. We could show people that, hey, you could be down with some veganism. It's okay. It's not so hard. We're out here. We're having fun. We're going to concerts. We're going to shows. We got Broadway. It's New York City. We're doing crazy stuff. We're going places and doing things. Don't you want to do this too? Yeah, I do. So, come on with us and just come chill, have fun, meet people. A lot of people I'm noticing are kind of introverted, don't really want to, do the thing, but they start hanging out with us and people start coming out of their shell. They want to start talking. They want to start doing things. And they're in a nice, safe space with other people that are vegan and not going to be shouted down, not going to be made fun of. I like it. I dig it. You might dig it too. I'm preaching to the converted, but for those of you that know people that are vegan curious, or even vegetarians that want to come over to the vegan side, or even people that are just like, I don't know what's up with this. Why do you do the things you do? You guys haven't died because you haven't had protein? No, we eat protein. We do the things. But, like I said, we do this thing.
And I'd like to mention January 31st, I believe, is Reverend William's birthday. So maybe
get out. You're gonna have to come down, Rev.
Party.
Party with us, man.
It really makes me want to come to New York and hang out.
You're always welcome. Anybody is.
How can are you going to spread this joy throughout? Or are there going to be plant power disruptors for every city? Can somebody form their own chapter?
Yeah, that would be
Think of the
awesome.
future. What do you see?
Yeah, well, that's a good sort of thing. It's like a worldwide thing, So, but you know what? We're starting here, and take a look at the TV show, take a look at the things we interview different people and show their vegan journey and seeing what they're doing to cause joy in their life and the life of others. It's stuff. I dig it. Like I said, we could disrupt with love, baby.
I love that. Oh, and the confetti, yay. I want to say one thing. Your creativeness comes out in describing all that you want to do with this group, and it's beautiful. And I'm in admiration of what you've done with this so far and your vision for it. It's amazing, and I think you're amazing. So yeah,
I'm honored, man. The main point is it's for everybody. If you find yourself in a situation that you want to be able to reach out to other people, find the people in your community. It's like Mr. Rogers, look for the helpers, look for the people that are helping in the vegan community and that you want to hang out with. I saw these other people doing stuff. I started getting involved with their things. They get involved with our things. And that's how community builds. And that's the important thing. As a school teacher, I learned this in school. I learned this in many different communities and that Venn diagram. I also love ska music and like the people from there. I've met some vegans over there too. It's like all the different Venn diagrams of things I'm into. You meet a whole bunch of people that also, they all coincide. And how can we all get together? And you know what? It's for the world. There's for the world.
Well, you really brought all the disparate pieces of your life together for this one cause, and it's beautiful. One last question, and we may have already answered it. What is one thing that we all could do today after we leave this meeting that would make the world a more compassionate place?
Wow. Well, what they said, be vegan. Yeah, that. But don't gatekeep. Don't be all like, this thing is just for us and no, it's for everybody. And also have kindness and compassion for the people that are struggling and trying to do it, or people that don't understand. Sometimes when people are acting out, they are acting out because of fear. I notice some people, when I speak about veganism or my own journey, I see people getting defensive and folding their arms and being like, well, I need this. And I'm like, maybe not so much, and I could present information and I could, do the thing, but ultimately, just understand, be kind, and that sometimes people come around. I know I did. I kept on coming around trying to see. I remember I was pescatarian, trying to play off like, I would like to live a vegan lifestyle. I'm pescatarian, and they're just like, well, maybe you might want to do this, or maybe you want to do that. That didn't work as much as the people that made some delicious vegan food, and I was like, yeah, that is good. I could do this. I could keep doing this. So less being mean and being about, don't do this, don't do that. More about show me. Show. It's easy to show as opposed to tell. Don't be show. Show your life. Let's see how you're living. See how you're doing. If you're living a happy lifestyle, then I want to hang with you. I want to be chilling with you. Don't be all dour. You've seen some people that are vegans and they're miserable. I was like, why are you being miserable? I didn't come in here to be miserable. I came in here to have fun. So I'll leave it at that. Enough said.
Well, I think that's the key. I think you're a wise man to say that the kindness will get more people than all the in your face facts.
Right on.
So, Phil, thank you so much, and I'm so glad we were able to expose the other side of the man behind the curtain, and thank you for all you do.
All right, I'm going to get back in my spaceship again, so I'll see you guys in a hot second. So take care. Love you guys.
Right.
Enough said.
Thank you, Phil. Sarah, back to you.
I can't stop laughing and smiling. I am so glad that all of you now got a little piece of understanding why we love Phil so much. It's really, really beautiful. We have covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? We have been talking about spiritual veganism because it's Veganuary, so this is the time to talk about it. We were talking Hinduism. We were talking progressive Christianity with the song and Amanda, and I learned a new word, which is awesome. I didn't know what judder was from the Song of Compassion, so I had to look it up. So probably all of you know what judder is, but I learned that judder is an instance of rapid and forceful shaking and vibration. So there you go. So if you don't know how to judder, I'm going to try juddering later. We'll see how that goes. But right now we have time to do our blessings and prayers segment. So this is how we kind of bring ourselves back into that, from that contagious joy that we just had from Phil and Elaine, bringing ourselves back kind of into that meditative or that spiritually connected space for a little bit. To consider, the joys and the challenges. We've been talking about these the whole time, the joys and the challenges. And anyone that you might want prayers for, or any good news that you have, to put that in the chat. So Phil's going to open the chat up for us. If there's anyone who you would like blessings or prayers for, to put that in the chat. And if there's any good news or joys, put that in the chat as well. It is all about balance. And helping me today is Estela Torres. Estela Torres is a Mexican independent artist and animal advocate residing in France since 2001. She's a co-founder of the Christian animal advocacy organization FRA, which represents animals and supports Christian animal advocates through website resources and an amazing series of educational conferences that I wish that I could get to. I'm going to try. They are featuring prominent theologians and scholars, really amazing. Their next conference takes place in Paris in November of 2024. FRA is a member of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition, an affiliate organization of the Animal Interfaith Alliance, and part of Christians for Animals International, which is advocating for the inclusion of animals in the Catholic Laudato Si movement. Estela has also led a monthly ecumenical virtual prayer group, which is part of why I asked her to come here. She prays beautifully. Ecumenical virtual prayer group in French since June of 2022. She's also currently part of the Compassion Consortium's Animal Chaplaincy Training Program, and we are so delighted to have her with us. So Estela, welcome. And you wrote this gorgeous blessing for 2024, and give it to us.
Yes, thank you very much, Lara. Thank you very much for the invitation and for the presentation. I'm very, very happy to be with you here tonight. And I would like to start first, start the blessing by expressing gratitude to you all at Compassion Consortium. Thank you for your commitment to animals in 2023 and your love for them. I express my gratitude for your dedicated and valuable work at Compassion Consortium. Let's persist in hoping for a kinder world for animals in 2024. Let's dream bigger for a compassionate world, outnumbering those who mistreat them. Some blessings for the world. May 2024 be a year of hope, where a better world is possible, where human hearts are transformed to choose peace and reject war. May it be a year of light, guiding us towards a world of greater justice and solidarity, filled with love for all beings, human and non-human. May the heart of every human being be inspired by respect and compassion for animals and all creation. May 2024 be a year in which humans become aware of the injustices inflicted on animals, realizing that animals are also our neighbors. May 2024 be a year of awakening to justice for animals by restoring their right to live, their place, and their space in this world. And for you, may your path in 2024 be filled with love and light. May your journey be guided by hope, and may your life be full of joy and good health. Thank you. Amen. Thank you very much.
May that be so. Estela, thank you so much for those beautiful, beautiful, beautiful words. And to them, we add prayers and blessings for Dave's family, who recently lost 2 elders in as many weeks, And for Lucky, Susan's husky mix feral dog or female dog who's scheduled for knee surgery tomorrow morning. For all the animals and people in war-torn regions and places struggling with climate change and poverty and racial or other forms of segregation throughout the world where such situations cause suffering. For Teddy, Beth's dog's brother, Harry, and for Michelle's father and Russ's mother, for Margaret, who's mourning the death of her cat, Jack. Prayers for the senior cats, Sweet Pea and Boojum. Prayer for Heather, who's mourning the loss of her dog. Good news from Victoria. Victoria and William's canine neighbor or canine roommate, dog Rupert, who came from hoarding, played tug of war today for the first time like a regular dog. Tug of war. Blessings for tug of war. Celebrating that. For Chris Rude and her friend Jim's daughter. Gratitude. Here's another gratitude from Jen to see her son's face today after he was under the sea for many months. And blessings, please, 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 from Beth for peace, love, and compassion in 2024. And for Mary Lou, Susan's 94-year-old friend who's deciding how to live after hip surgery rehab. Phil for your friend Holly, and Adele for Tyler. Feral cat displaced when a human hopes to reunite her with her cohort in the sanctuary. May she find it. May it be her will. It is so important to note these things that are on our minds, these joys and these challenges. There we go. All right. If you all would join with Estela and I in saying these words. May all creatures everywhere be happy and free. May the thoughts, words, and actions of our lives contribute to this happiness and this freedom for all. May it be so. Amen. Amen. So mote it be. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And so it is. Whatever your ending word is. Thank you so much. And thank you, Estela from France. I know it's very, very late where you are. Thank you for staying up with us. And William, I believe that what's up next are some amazing announcements from you. And then Victoria will invite us all to fellowship today. So thank you all for being here at Sunday service, and stick around.
This is where I give some announcements about what's coming up for the future in the Compassion Consortium. February 18th will be our next service, and it will be in celebration of Black History Month. Our special guest will be Vanette Calloway. She's committed to empowering children and adults with over 20 years teaching, mentoring, tutoring, and counseling. She holds a BS in liberal arts with minors in behavioral sciences and biology, along with 2 master's degrees with a MAT in secondary education. She began a doctoral program in nutritional healing with the College of Natural Health and Organizational Leadership with Liberty University. And her organization, the Black Vegan Experience, is a multicultural educational conference celebration of African American ancestry and networking event where Black professionals and practitioners can address the medical concerns in the Black community and remove the stereotypes attached to veganism and Black culture. Then on that same day, February 18th, is our Compassion in Action, and Reverend Sarah will be introducing our new animal chaplaincy cohort. So then next, we will have our next engaged member practice on February 13th at 7:30 p.m. And And our guest will be Elena Sigler, and she will be offering a practice called Healing the Grief That Breaks Your Heart. I think we're ready to move into the fellowship.